Welcome back to another episode of Lead Stronger Longer, the podcast that inspires you to lead your life purposefully, personally, and professionally. We have an extraordinary guest with us, Anjel B Hartwell. Anjel is a true Renaissance woman. She's a multidimensional visual and performing artist. She has done jewelry design. She's a juried photographer, a painter. She's a motivational speaker. She is an author. She is a podcaster of an amazing podcast. She's a multi award winning visionary entrepreneur, and she is a powerhouse leader. I am so excited to have you here. I can't wait. I just want to get right into it. So, we always like to start with your favorite quote or mantra. What do you have?
Excellent. My favorite quote or mantra. I actually have two. I actually have three. My favorite is clarity is divinity. I use that one all the time. Now, if you'd like the other two, I can give you those as well. They're more prayers than mantras. So I have a prayer to always be a pure, clear channel. And I also have a prayer to never let me lose my sense of awe and wonder. So the quote is clarity is divinity. And then I have the two prayers as well.
So, how does that look like? How does it actually show up for you personally and professionally? Those three, I mean, because they're definitely connected.
Hmm.
What does that look like in your life on a daily basis?
Right. So for me, what it looks like in terms of clarity is divinity is that I really have an intentional focus to maintain as much clarity as possible. And it's like really my only job. And it definitely connects with the make me a pure, clear channel. My only job is to keep my channel clear. So you know, I like to use the analogy of if I am the hose and source is the spigot, like my hose needs to be intact and in integrity and clear in order for what's coming from source to go out and water the garden of life, right? So my whole job is really maintaining the integrity and the clarity of my channel. And in doing that, it allows for the divine to deliver what is most needed through me into the world. And never let me lose my sense of awe and wonder. Like when I'm clear, everything is pretty awesome and wonderful. So I can always tell if I need to do some work with myself to either invest with people that work with that are trusted supporters for the energy work or the metaphysical work or the mindset work or the emotional work or the trauma release work or whatever the work is. There's lots of work or play. We could call it play. Like it's a signal for me when I'm starting to lose clarity or I'm starting to lose my sense of awe and wonder. And that means it's time to invest and to get to help.
Yeah, so there's so much there, and I just want to dive into that. But in terms of, so you gave us a little bit of how you do that, and when you lose that clarity, are you looking for a specific sign, the before and after? I'm crystal clear, I'm not clear, or are there subtleties of that? And how do you gauge that on a regular basis? Do you have some kind of monitoring system internally that's just using those gauges somehow? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, totally. Totally. So epic clarity, when I'm getting epic clarity, I'm grabbing my boobies. I'm like, yes, this is amazing. I am grabbing my boobies when I get epic clarity. Like a little downgrade from epic is I feel the full body like yes, right? So there are layers. There is a spectrum. And what I've come to understand is when I get that full body grab my boobies, yes, epic clarity, then it's unmistakable and it's my job to take action on that immediately and not to squander the energy for even a second. when it becomes less obvious, that's where the discernment muscle has to start to activate. And that is where I begin the process of saying, wow, that feels amazing and kind of a yes. And let me give myself a moment here to just really dial in that discernment and say, is it a real big yes, or am I like acting from trauma or some other motivation? Yeah. So it's actually the subtler areas where the real work is, because the epic, oh my God, grabbing my boobies is so obvious. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so that's clear. I would love to go down that rabbit hole, but I'm not, because I want to cover some other things that I know, well, that I really want to know about for you. You have this amazing podcast. You have evolved. Everything that's evolved has been from this creative energy, which, there's some that say, oh, I'm not creative at all, but we're pure creativity in whatever that creativity looks like. And you've just channeled it into multi area, just so many different areas, from the jewelry design, which I love. I mean, these are things that we have in common. um, Me nowhere near what you've created. And then I saw this new piece that you're doing with the, what is it, non-fungal? It's the digital art and bringing it to the world in a different way, which was, okay, that's an interesting piece. What is that piece? Because that's not really your specialization, though. The
Mm,
creativity is part of what you're doing, but you
mm,
have a specialization
mm,
that is so powerful, and it is around manifesting and money. And I
mm.
think that gets overly, it's so overly, like it's a fad to me now. It's like everybody and their brother's doing it. And yet you are like, I'm going to totally do this only because I have teens. The OG of the manifesting and the money, this whole piece of true power, true
Mm,
creativity. And okay, so I want to know what your journey was, and how that evolved to become such a specialization of yours, because
mm.
it's just wow.
Well, thank you. So, I'm going to try to encapsulate this. So, I spent 20 years in the real estate business, and I was the national chair of my trade association at the end of that career. And I was building 51 single family houses, 56 apartments, and an office building with two partners. And it was an award winning project, multi-million dollar project. And I had a spiritual awakening. And as a result of that spiritual awakening, I ended up leaving behind that career and discovering the creative part of myself that, I had no idea even existed, because I had spent so much of my life literally in the box, so in the box. And then when the box exploded, when the box exploded, I gave myself permission. I literally gave myself permission to walk away from everything. I walked away from my business. I walked away from my marriage. I walked away from pretty much everything. And I spent 2 years really allowing myself the spaciousness and the grace and the faith to explore and discover. And that's where the juried artist and the photographer and the jewelry and the, all of the thing, the performer. I have an award-winning crystal singing bowl healing CD, the healer, like all of these latent parts of myself suddenly came online, and I gave myself permission to allow that to happen and to say yes to all of that and to explore all of these, miraculous creative capacities that I didn't even know I had. And then, it became clear, because by then I was divorced from my first husband and I had left my business behind. And I was 2 years in, and I was like, oh, I think I should probably think about some money here, because I was, raising a child by myself. And so I had to come back to marry the practical, prosperity producing aspects of my being with the creative, evolutionary, metaphysical experiences that I had had, and to find the path to some kind of unification. And initially, what that looked like, I was very strongly moved to put myself out in the world as a healer, because the healing work that I had done was so profoundly, instrumental in me becoming who I've become. It was a huge calling initially back in like 2008, 2009. I remember being at an event where during some little exercise they had us do, what came through for me was it was my mission at that time to make healing and healing modalities as ubiquitous and available and likely to be chosen as going to the doctor and going to see medical professionals. And I'm not going to say that that was like my job all by myself. I was part of this rising tide of people who were activated metaphysically, had gone through healing processes, and were then called to be messengers about those processes. Fast forward a number of years, when now all of a sudden it's flourishing, it's everywhere. You know what I mean? The next big download that came in was help 10,000 women become multimillionaires. And so that was a different, it's a different mission. And what I became clear about with that mission as it became more refined is I began to understand that those of us who have been walking in multiple worlds, who have been activated to be healing and evolutionary change agents in the world, many of us are bleeding hearts and give until we can't stand up anymore. And that's so last millennium. That's like that old martyr, the old savior, the old rescuer archetype is last 2,000 years, not this current 2,000-year millennium. And most of the wealth now in the world is coagulated like a clot. If we think about the money system as like the circulatory system of the economic structure, or the global structure, because money touches everybody, the money is now clotted in the hands of the very few. And those of us who are here to create evolution, our work is really to open up and be receptive to and create the vacuum for that money to start moving in service to the evolution and the change that we came to create. And so that's pretty much the mission that I'm flying on right now. And they are all intricately tied together. And the art and the creativity, what became clear to me is that it's required in my life for me to be well. And when I attempted to make the art the commercial piece, it was not useful to me to try and do that. But everything I do has art as being a part of it, so nothing goes to waste in this world.
Oh, I love this so much. In terms of how, because I think so many can relate to everything you said in varying degrees, and how we have compartmentalized so much to cut this off. And I think that does go into why we have so many health issues. And there's just so much. Everything you just said was just so like, yes. And there are so many of us, and some of us are not fully recognizing it because there's still so much stock talk about. I totally see that clog. And I mean, that was a perfect analogy. So because you've been through this, could you look back and see a crucial early mistake during your journey that, I mean, clearly, because you've learned so much now, what did you learn from it? And how has it influenced you now? And because I think we best learn from those stories, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Summer 2004. Hot. It's so hot. I'm out dripping with sweat. I am mowing my lawn, and I have begun to get worried because I left my real estate career at the end of 2002. So now I've spent 2003 exploring my, wild woo woo side. I'm into 2004. There's been no income. I'm living on credit cards, home equity lines. I'm, I left my real estate career. My partner, he said, "What are you going to do?" And what fell out of my mouth was, "I'm going to be a crystal healer." And I'd never even had one. So I didn't even know what the hell I was talking about. By 2004, I went and had I learned crystal healing and did my first workshop where 3 people paid me $35 to come to that workshop. So the next day after this workshop, it's summer, it's hot. I am out mowing the lawn. The night before, when I had gotten 3 people to come in and pay me $35 for the workshop, my babysitter had put the popcorn in the microwave upside down, thus burning a hole right through the top of my microwave. I got a message from my tire company, my car people, that I needed 4 new tires on my car. And now I'm out. I'm now really worried. Like, I'm worried. I'm like, what is going on? What am I doing with my life? I am so worried because I'm also a single mom. I'm newly divorced. I've got a little guy. At that point, he is 8 or 9 years old. I'm out mowing the lawn, and I run, a bolt falls off the lawnmower. I run over a bolt. So literally within 24 hours, my money worry manifested itself into, you need 4 new tires on your car, you have a hole in your microwave, and now you got to replace your lawnmower. And that was a very big moment for me. It was a huge moment. Now, I'm not going to say I never worried about money again, but I became aware in that moment that I was creating my reality. And worry is one of the major ways that we ward off wealth.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm trying to keep this into like a little thing, but oh my gosh, I just want to explode with this. There's so much. Okay. So no question, if someone needs just on that one piece alone, we'll know how to get a hold of you because you
Mm-hmm.
help with that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. In terms of, so we're going to move this in a direction of you now as a leader, and you are truly a powerhouse leader in what you're doing. What advice would you have for leaders who are there? They're driven, they are high performing, they're out there wanting to create this impact,
Mm.
but they might be low recovery. What advice can you give for them?
Oh, that's a great question, because I burned myself out. In 2016, there was a life rupture with my child, and that life rupture, especially for women, it's holistic. You cannot have a life rupture and keep it like on the other side of the wall of your business. We just aren't wired that way. And by the end of 2016, I was like, oh my God, if my business doesn't sustain me through the next 6 weeks, I need to take 6 weeks off. Like, I really needed to take 6 weeks off. And by February of 2017, I had made $7 in the month of February in my business. And I was like, oh, this isn't working. So I put it in the fire. I put my business in the fire. And so one of the things I'm going to say for the leaders out there is that it's incredibly important for you to be constantly in the process of dialing in and honing your self-awareness. Just keep honing and honing and honing your self-awareness. I was working with a client of mine yesterday, and we've only been working together for three weeks. She's immediately given herself a raise from 250,000 to work with her to 500,000 to work with her in her consulting business. Literally within 3 weeks, we doubled her rates, which was great. However, she came to the call yesterday, and she was, had been burning the candle hard. She had been burning the candle hard. And so one of the things that we needed to do was I needed to support her, and I support myself in this way, and I support all the clients that I work with in this way, to remember that you're the golden goose. And if you cook yourself, nobody is going to win here. Nobody is going to win. And so our work is really about becoming energy masters. I'm actually a medicine carrier in the Inca tradition of the Peruvian Andes. I went through that whole rites of passage and all the initiations, and Inca means energy master. That's literally what the words Inca means. It means energy master. And so really, as leaders, our whole job is, number one, be your own energy master. Number two, hold the vision of what you are intending to create. And in her case, she had gotten down into the details. And so I helped her to understand what she can do, because yes, the details are important, but also the vision is got to be held. And so I helped her with the process to lift herself out of the details and fly up into the vision whenever she was, her job is to monitor. Am I getting mired? Am I feeling like I'm being pulled down? Am I feeling like I'm getting drained and losing my energy? And to be aware and have in place internally the signal that says, oh, I got to pop up, even if it's only for a minute or two or three, to get into the bigger vision. So the leader's job really is self-awareness and self-energy management. Number one. Number two, to maintain the vision. And number three, to communicate the vision consistently as the voice and face of your brand and what you're intending to do in the world.
So good. Okay. You said put your business in the fire. So I just wanted to make sure I understood that. Was that putting the goose in the fire? So you...
No. I put the business in the fire. I actually, in 2017, I just put everything in the fire. I literally had a fire ceremony.
I mean, you blew it up. You got
I literally had a fire ceremony. I literally blew it up. I burned everything, and I sat for 3 weeks and I said, okay, Spirit, what actually do you want from me? Because sometimes what we end up doing is we get this vision from Spirit, and we get like blinders on, and we're like, nose to the grindstone. It's not about nose to the grindstone anymore. It's about allowing the vision to manifest through us, not of us.
Mm-hmm.
Very big difference. Very big difference. And when it's starting to take from you, you are no longer aligned with the vision. You're just not. Now it's all your whatever, your trauma is running it, your ego is running it, some other thing is running the vision. And I've also discovered that Spirit often will put a stop sign in the road for me, and I will just blow right through that stop sign and get 3,000 miles down the road. I've had this happen. I'm much better now. But in the past, I had it happen where I would get 3,000 miles down the road and be out of gas, metaphorically, and realize not only am I out of gas, so now I have to refuel, but I have to actually go 3,000 miles back to where the stop sign was and where the indicator was to take a left there instead. That would have allowed it to manifest through me rather than take from me.
So good. Everyone, I hope you heard that and play it again. That's a reminder to me, review that. Mm-hmm. And that goes right back to your original piece, clarity and self-awareness, mm-hmm. and that beautiful, just continuing cycle of that. Mm-hmm. So good.
I love that you just did the infinity symbol too, because that's exactly right.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Exactly so right. As we wrap up, I would love to, what's your go-to book or books that you would recommend for leaders to lead stronger, longer?
Wow. Well, I have so many books. There's so many books. I'm like such a bibliophile. My go-to book recently, I think, would be, I just read Johann Hari's book about focus. It was called Stolen Focus. And I thought that that book was incredibly revelatory. It showed me things that I already knew, but put them in black and white in ways that I was like, oh, I knew this, but I didn't realize the extent of the impact on me. So that's the most recent book. I mean, I've got a whole library. I mean, I've also written my own books. I've got, Wickedly Smart Women, Trusting Intuition, Taking Action, Transforming Worlds, which is a great book with 17 co-authors, and my other book, Be Heard by Millions and Live Your Destiny. But my most recent book that was really had an impact on me was that one, Stolen Focus.
Very cool. I think we all need that right now, is to remember what's happening, because this is our commodity, and it's being mined.
Yeah,
Not
well,
necessarily the way we want it to be mined from
yeah,
other
so I'm
sites.
going to actually remove that word commodity from our conversation,
Okay.
because my mind and my spirit and my devotion and my creativity is not a commodity, and it's not anybody else's commodity either. It's
Yeah,
being treated that way.
exactly.
It's being treated that way, and I get to say no. No, that's not the way that I'm going to play this game. No, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
100%. Yeah, I just felt that shift. You're right. And it's not true, meaning whatever words, but that energy that is created from that is not the truth. It is not real. It is a total fabrication, and that is why there's such, just anyway. So, oh gosh, so much. I'm so excited to know you, and I can't wait to share you with the world, and I mean, at least my world, and get folks to find out more about you for sure. How can people work with you, contact you? I know the podcast. I will definitely link your podcast and your books. But what's the best way for people to reach out to you and work with you in whatever way you want them to?
Well, I have a fun quiz that people can take, and that quiz is designed to help you to discern your wealthy life readiness. For me, a wealthy life is more than just the money piece. It's the sum total of all the resources that we have available to us. Money being about maybe 10% of the total wealth picture from my perspective. So you can go to quiz.wealthylifementor.com, and that will take you right. It's a short, like 7-question quiz, and it will give you a gauge of your wealthy life readiness. And then, of course, yes, all the other things, the podcast, Wickedly Smart Women. I actually have 2 podcasts. My second one, it's actually my third podcast. I sold my first one. The third podcast that I'm doing is called Leading Visionaries, and that's non-gender specific. So my first podcast was Men on Purpose, which I sold in 2020. I was the first independent podcaster to sell a podcast because I was an open channel in a situation, and I got the idea, came in, and I went up and said, hey, would you be interested in buying my podcast? Because I was available to spirit for those ideas. And so, yeah, I was the first independent podcaster to sell a podcast, because we're here to create new things, right?
Oh, yes. Yes, that's the reminder. Some of us need it more often than others, but that's the reminder. We are here to create and to release it and to take the action that allows for that. So whether it's selling that, and this has been so helpful in such a short little time. I just want to immerse myself in you. And I'm sure there's others just want to immerse. So I can't wait to dive into your books and just connect with you more in those ways. Thank you. Thank you for being here and for sharing so
Thank you so
much.
much for
Thank
having
you for your
me. Thank
clarity.
you so much for having me,
All
Stefana.
right.
Clarity is divinity.
Yes, it is. All right. Until next time, lead yourself, lead your life purposefully, and lead a life you love.